Okay, universe. So it is Saturday morning. I'm now in Asheville, North Carolina. Really like this city. It's a cool place. A lot of weird, wacky people and a cool culture of, I don't know, some weirdness, I guess, for lack of a better word. Um, so last week I checked in. I was pretty down. When I went to that yoga event, I was definitely down. That was a depressing time. Um, I'm doing better now. Um, yeah, it was like 4 days from like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. of just sitting there thinking about how unhappy I was and how unsatisfied I was with my life. And, there was this feeling of Jesus Christ. You're like, it's like Kriya Yoga is a lot of like breathing and weird kind of stuff. It's not so much about stretching and that. It's, all these different kind of breathing activities, and you're like, oh my God, am I so bad at life? Am I so like unhappy that this is what I'm doing to try to find joy? That this is what I've resorted to? It is like, and you're just like doing it all day, every day, and it's slow. You're sitting on the ground. It's boring, and like the philosophical stuff that normally they'd have their master yogi or whatever you call it, guru, he would be there in person doing, they had like a video of him, so that was less engaging. The food was delicious, but the food was really good. And I just felt like I was not enjoying it, and I had it all built up in my head to be like, oh, like, okay, I'll get some answers here. I'll find what I'm looking for and all that shit. And so that was really disappointing and upsetting. And so now I've been out of the thing for 5 days, 6 days, and I'm in Asheville. I really like I mentioned liking Asheville, so that's a pick me up. And actually I'm here visiting. Well, I got 3 comedy shows booked for Asheville, which is a big lift because like everything kind of failed in Tennessee. So I got 3 shows in a week, hour-long shows. This is like fucked. I haven't performed in like over a month. Never done an hour, and I'm gonna do 3 in a week. So that's cool, and that's like something I'm really excited about. But to touch on this like yoga practice, and I've got a. So I was saying I got a friend here. Fine, whatever. My ex-girlfriend is visiting Asheville as well. She travels too, and so we're here meeting, and it's been nice seeing her. So like this yoga practice, what I'm kind of like trying to figure out is like, does this stuff actually do anything? Is it really doing anything? And aside, like, all right, there's all this kind of like metaphysical stuff about prana and moving the energy through your body and that kind of stuff, and connecting with the universe and all that. And like, I want to believe this stuff. I want to. And it doesn't necessarily violate the laws of physics as I understand them, but it's a little bit of a stretch without having like more. This camera just doesn't want to fucking do what I want it to do. All right. Without having a more logical, rational, scientific explanation for what's happening. But I think, I don't know, it might do something, like just the act of making a priority every day out of doing something that you think is beneficial to you, and making it a priority and organizing your schedules to make sure that you do this thing, which has like no meaning and consequence. So, if you're like prioritizing work and making sure to get work done, it's like kind of this ego thing. But here you're like making a priority out of taking care of yourself to doing something that doesn't amount to anything, it's just this act. And maybe in doing that in itself, there's a benefit to you, right? Like a psychological benefit of doing it, not so much the actual, magic of breath work kind of thing. And then there's also a sense of, when you're in it and you make a mistake or you do it wrong, you're like, oh, fuck, maybe I'll quit. Oh, well. But then you kind of say, well, no, like, don't quit. Start again. Like, you don't have to give up on it just because you did something wrong. Just adjust it. And then also like there's some like weird stuff to it. So I think, like I do my yoga out in the park. I don't, here I'm staying at I'm renting a room for, a week. I don't always have like a place I could do stuff. If I'm staying in an Airbnb or if I'm at a, hostel or campground, whatever. So there's a sense of like doing these weird things out in public and like, oh, are people going to see me? What are they going to think of the guy who's out there, sitting there doing this weird stuff? And kind of overcoming that has some like personal growth things to it. And even recognizing how that voice in your head, not like a voice in your head, but is like criticizing you. Like who is that fucking voice who's like, oh, you look stupid, you're doing it wrong, just give up, you're wasting your time, this is a waste of time. This is, like that, like hearing that voice yell at you for 4 days when you're at this retreat type thing, like it stands out to you, and you like recognize, like, who is that? Who is that judging me? That self judgment, self doubt thing. And so maybe it like kind of brings it to the surface and makes you deal with it. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But and I even just applying these things to other parts of life. Again, I that would be a pretty indirect benefit of doing a practice like this. It would not be a very logical, direct, scientific, well, breathing like this does this, and that does this. And the guy who kind of coached me into doing this thing, he was like, Jim, like, get rid of this logical mind that you rely so heavily on, and maybe trust in, like, your intuition, or an illogical, just, and I'm like, trust illogical stuff, like, oh, but he was pretty harsh on me. He's like, look where your logical mind has got you. Are you happy? Is it taking you to a place that you're enjoying yourself? So it is worth playing with. And there's the next piece of desperation there, where you're like, oh, like what else can I do? Like what else would I do to try to find happiness if everything else is failing in some way or not lasting? Like why not try this? So it's worth experimenting with. It's just, I think there's a critic of myself saying, oh, like, you falling into a trap of believing in something that's not real? Are you going to be a stupid person that buys into things that aren't real and turns into one of these woo-woo people that talks about fucking law of attraction and shit? And yeah, so then again, there's like, why, like, what are these fears? What am I so scared of? Why? And what are the actual fears, and then can they be overcome? I don't know. So I guess that's like 8 minutes. I'll stop the video there, but I'm doing a little better, and we'll see where things go. I hope next week when I check in, I had 2 interesting comedy shows to share about.